I had to have navy blue trousers to go with my black jacket and cop cap. For the first 2 weeks, I had to wear Henri's trousers. Since he was so tall and had a pot belly from eating voracious meals out of boredom, I went flapping around like Charlie Chaplin to my first night of work. Henri gave me a flashlight and his 32 automatic. Where'd you get this gun? On my way to the coast last summer, I jumped off the train in North Platte, Nebraska to stretch my legs. And what did I see in the window but this wonderful little gun, which I promptly bought and barely made the train. And I tried to tell him what North Platte, Nebraska meant to me, buying the whiskey with the boys. And he slapped me on the back and said I was the funniest man in the world. With the flashlight to illuminate my way, I climbed the steep walls of the South Canyon, got up on a highway streaming with cars in the night Frisco bound, scrambled down the other side almost falling, and came to the bottom of a ravine where a little farmhouse stood near a creek, and where every blessed night the same dog barked at me for months. Then it was a fast walk along a silvery dusty road beneath inky trees of California, a road like in the Mark of Zorro, and a road like all the roads you see in Western B movies. I used to take out my gun and play cowboys in the dark. Then I climbed another hill, and there were the barracks. These barracks were for the temporary quartering of overseas construction workers. The men who came through stayed there waiting for their ship. Most of them were bound for Okinawa. Most of them were running from something, usually the law. There were tough groups of brothers from Alabama, shifty men from New York, all kinds from all over, and knowing full well how horrible it would be to work a full year in Okinawa, they drank. The job of the special guards was to see that they didn't tear the barracks down. We had our headquarters in the main building, just a wooden contraption with panel-walled offices. Here at a roll-top desk, we sat around shifting our guns off our asses and yawning, and the old cops told stories. It was a horrible crew of men with copsouls, all except Henri and I. Henri was only trying to make a living, so was I. But these men wanted to make arrests and get compliments from the chief in town. They even went so far as to say, if you didn't make at least one arrest, you'd be fired. I gulped at the prospect of making an arrest. What actually happened was that I was drunk as anybody in the barracks the night that all hell broke loose. This was the night when the schedule was so arranged that I was all alone for 6 hours, the only cop on the grounds. And not that anybody knew it, but everybody in the barracks seemed to have gotten drunk that night. It was because their ship was leaving in the morning. They drank like seamen do the night before their anchor goes up. I sat in the office in a roll-top chair with my feet on the desk, reading Blue Book adventures about Oregon and the North Country. And when I suddenly realized there was a great hum of activity in the usually quiet night, I went out. Lights were burning in practically every damn shack on the grounds. Men were shouting. Bottles were breaking. It was do or die for me. I took my flashlight and I went to the noisiest door and I knocked. Someone opened it about 6 inches. What do you want? I said, I'm guarding these barracks tonight and you boys are supposed to keep quiet as much as you can, or some such silly remark. And they slammed the door in my face. And I stood looking at the wood of it against my nose. It was like a Western movie. The time had come for me to assert myself. I knocked again. They opened up wide this time. Listen, I said, I don't want to come around bothering you fellows, but I'll lose my job if you make too much noise. Who are you? I'm a guard here. Never seen you before. Well, here's my badge. What are you doing with that pistol cracker on your ass? It isn't mine, I apologized. I borrowed it. Have a drink, for Christ's sakes. I didn't mind if I would. I took 2. I said, okay, boys, you'll keep quiet, boys. I'll get hell, you know. It's all right, kid, they said. Go make your rounds. Come back for another drink if you want one. And I went to all the doors in this manner, and pretty soon I was as drunk as anybody else. Come dawn, it was my duty to put up the American flag on a 60-foot pole. And this morning I put it up upside down and went home to bed. When I came back in the evening, the regular corps of cops was sitting around grimly in the office. Say, boy, what was all that noise around here last night? We've had complaints from people who live in those houses around the canyon. I don't know, I said. Sounds pretty quiet right now. The whole contingent's gone. You were supposed to keep order around here last night. The chief is yelling at you. And another thing, do you know you can go to jail for putting the American flag upside down on a government pole? Upside down? I was horrified. Of course I hadn't realized it. I did it every morning mechanically. I shook out its dust and dew and hauled her up. Yes, sir, said a fat cop who'd spent 30 years as a guard in a horrible prison known as San Quentin. You could go to jail for doing something like that. The others nodded grimly. They were always sitting around on their asses. They were proud of their jobs. They took out their guns and talked about them, but they never pointed them. They were itching to shoot somebody, Henri and me. Let me tell you about the two worst cops. The fat one, who had been a San Quentin guard, was pot-bellied and about 60, retired, and couldn't keep away from the atmospheres that had nourished his dry soul all his life. Every night he drove to work in his 37 Buick, punched the clock exactly one time, and sat down at the roll-top desk. They said he had a wife. Then he labored painfully over the simple form we all had to fill out every night: rounds, time, what happened, and so on. Then he leaned back and told stories. You should have been there about 2 months ago when me and Tex, that was the other horrible cop, a youngster who wanted to be a Texas Ranger and had to be satisfied with his present lot. Me and Tex arrested a drunk in Barrack G. Boy, you should have seen the blood fly. I'll take you over there tonight and show you the stains on the wall. We had him bouncing from one wall to another. First Tex hit him with the club, then I did. Then Tex took out his revolver and snapped him one, and I was just about to try it myself when he subsided and went quickly. That fella swore to kill us when he got out of jail. Got 30 days. Here it is, 60 days, and he ain't showed up. And this was the big point of the story. They'd put so much fear in him that he was too yellow to come back and try and kill them. I began to worry he might try it and mistake me for Tex in a dark barrack alley. The old cop went on, sweetly reminiscing about the horrors of San Quentin. We used to march him like an army platoon to breakfast. Wasn't one man out of step. Everything went like clockwork. You should have seen it. I was a guard there for 30 years, never had any trouble. Those boys knew we meant business. Now a lot of fellows get soft-guarded prisoners, and they're the ones that usually get into trouble. Now you take you. From what I've been observing about you, you seem to be a little bit too lenient with the men. He raised his pipe and looked at me sharp. They take advantage of that, you know. I knew that. I told him I wasn't cut out to be a cop. Yes, but that's the job you applied for. Now you gotta make up your mind one way or the other, or you'll never get anywhere. It's your duty. You're sworn in. You can't compromise with things like this. Law and order's gotta be kept. I didn't know what to say. He was right, but all I wanted to do was sneak out into the night and disappear somewhere and go and find out what everybody was doing all over the country. The other cop, Tex, was a short, squat, muscular man with a blonde crew cut and a nervous twitch in his neck like a boxer who was always punching one fist into another, you know. He rigged himself out like a Texas Ranger of old. He wore a revolver down low with an ammunition belt, carried a small quirt of some kind, and pieces of leather hanging everywhere, like as if he was like a walking torture chamber. Shiny shoes, low-hanging jacket, cocky hat, everything but boots. He was always showing me holds, reaching down under my crotch and lifting me up nimbly. In point of strength, I could have thrown him clear to the ceiling with the same hold, and I knew it well. But I never let him know for fear he'd want a wrestling match. And a wrestling match with a guy like that could end up in a shooting. I'm sure he was a better shot. I'd never had a gun in my life. It scared me to even load one. He desperately wanted to make arrests. One night, we're alone on duty, and he came back pissing mad. I told some boys in there to keep quiet, and they're still making noise. I told them twice. I always give a man 2 chances, not 30. You come with me, and I'm going back there, and I'm going to arrest him. Well, let me give them the 3rd chance, I said. I'll talk to them. No, sir, I never give a man more than 2 chances, I sighed. Oh, here we go. We went to the offending room, and Tex opened the door and told everybody to file out. It was embarrassing. Every single one of us was blushing. This is the story of America. Everybody's doing what they think they're supposed to do. So what if a bunch of men talk loud in voices and drink in the night? But Tex wanted to prove something. He made sure to bring me along in case they jumped him. And they might have. They were all brothers, all from Alabama. We all strolled back to the station. Tex in front and me in the back. And one of the boys said to me, "You tell that crotch-eared mean ass take it easy on us. We might get fired for this and never get to Okinawa." I'll talk to him. In the station, I told Tex to forget it. He said for everybody to hear him blushing, "I don't give a damn anymore. I don't give anybody no more than 2 chances." "What the hell?" said the Alabaman. What difference does it make? We might lose our jobs. Tex said nothing and filled out the arrest forms. He arrested only one of them. He called the prowl car in town and they came and took him away. The other brothers walked off sullenly. What's Ma gonna say? They said. One of them came back to me. You tell that Texas son of a bitch my brother ain't out of jail tomorrow night. You're gonna get his ass fixed. I told Tex in a neutral way and he said nothing. The brother was let off easy and nothing happened. The contingent shipped out. A new wild bunch came in. If it hadn't been for Henri Crew, I wouldn't have stayed at this job 2 hours. But Henri Crew and I were on duty alone many a night, and that's when everything jumped.